from normal visitors to investors and African and different nationalities to visit this very important fair, the first of its kind to be hosted by Egypt and the first of its kind in Africa. And of course this fair came after the very important forum which was held in the Red Sea Resort of Sharm el-Sheikh, Africa 2018. Of course, many important fairs and exhibitions and conferences which are hosted by Egypt concerning the African continent. To shed more light about that, we are very much delighted to have our very dear guest in the studio, Ambassador Dr. محمد الحسيني, UN Economic Committee Director. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Sir, if you can tell us about the ramifications of holding back-to-back conferences and exhibitions as the ones we're witnessing right now, and it's how can Egypt better off or benefit from holding such exhibitions and conferences?
Actually, when we see 2018, we can consider it the most active exhibition and conferences and forums year to Egypt, because we had almost over than 25 events. The exhibitions, it's more than 65, transferring the goods from different countries, look like the European, the African, the Asian. As we see that this is all, as we can consider it as a movement of our government and how they are promoting Egypt, but B2B as a business to business, to let the investors worldwide, especially in our region, come to the country, see the changes have been done. So Egypt is benefits because when we come to the technology solution and the digital marketing of that, seeing the world of Egypt have come in a few figures that showing that Egypt, there is a traffic in this country. So when you see the researcher worldwide, especially the promoting investment houses in Europe and East Asia, you will find that we have a lot of attendance from them, and most of the interest attending investors coming to our country is coming from the Gulf region as well. So the effectiveness of the exhibitions have been done. You can consider it each week or each 15 days we have something in the country. It's all Egypt is benefiting for the MOUs that we are signing by our Minister of Investment, Dr. Nasser. We find a lot of things come in the ground and a lot of fields in the energy, the telecommunication, and each forum have its outcome to the country, and we are benefit from that definitely 100% in 2018 precisely.
Sir, if we focus now on the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which will be inaugurated today, and it will last for 7 days, we are expecting about 70,000 people to attend that fair, with the participation of 1,000 exhibitors. It is the first fair of its kind to be hosted by Egypt. How is the significance of hosting the intra-Africa trade, especially that the level of intra-African trade is quite minimal? We are talking about 15% comparing to other continents. It's a minimal level of cooperation regarding the trade field. So what could be the objective of that fair in order to increase the level of intra-African trade?
I wanted to correct the percentage because it's 11.3%, not 15.
Yet less than 15.
Yeah, less than 15, and this is unfortunate because first we are holding in Sharm el-Sheikh the last 3 days. Sharm el-Sheikh was so active with our African brothers and friends. From by 2,000 attendance, and we have over 4 presidents, and for the entrepreneur we have over than 75 companies have attended under the COMESA, of course, and under the support that we have find from the International Bank and a lot of funding organizations. And here the exhibition is coming in the next 7 days. is look like it's completing what have been done in the last 3 days. Because in the last 3 days, the president and the administration have presented Egypt to, not to the world, but to the African countries.
Yes.
I wanted to stop here before I talk the percentage about the trade between the African countries.
Yes.
Egypt before exactly 6 years ago was visible. Nobody was seeing the role of Egypt in Africa from the previous administration concentration, because we was concentrating in the top, in Europe and in the Gulf region.
Africa was neglected.
Yeah, Africa was not in the scene to us.
Yes.
But President al-Sisi, he have the same care and attention, same to President Abdel Nasser, that he said that Africa is the normal and the natural expandation to Egypt when it's come to the free trade, when it's come to the population, when it's come in everything. So here, what have Egypt done? Egypt start the forum. This is the point number one, by President al-Sisi announcing of the assurance fund for our investors, the Egyptian investors, because Egypt is investing in Africa $10 billion, and the African countries, the 22 countries which under the COMESA is investing is something like, I think, $2.2 billion. So here, investing in Egypt. So here, the percentage gap is big.
Yes,
when we look to the percentage of the African countries and Africa to the world and Africa to itself inside the country, we will find here 11.5% is nothing to 600 million persons living in the countries. As the world was looking to Africa before, they was looking, it's an unstable country. There is a lot of civil wars, there was a lot of instability, political collapse is happening, especially in the Mid and East Africa. But now we have several examples, over than 10 or 12 examples, as of Egypt, as of Morocco, as of Algeria, as of Tunisia, as of Rwanda, which Rwanda here, when we talk, and even when we said and Ethiopia itself, we have those countries, which those countries, then people who was living in beyond the civilization life we have here in our country. And when you look to the administration, the national administration of those countries, what they have did, they changed the countries, especially when I'm talking about Rwanda here, they changed Rwanda in 5 years to be one of the successful example as an investment hub in Africa. How many countries like that in Africa? We have over than 45 countries. So Egypt now is presenting to them what the experience have been done. Here, the exhibitor is coming, doing what? We have a say that say it's announcing that the products, or why, let's put it, why it's 11.5%, why it's not 35%, why it's not 40% as African countries. We have 4 defaults. The first one is the infrastructure. That's why President al-Sisi and other leaders have assured that we want the railway from Africa to Cape to be finished as soon as possible. Because until now, we as in Egypt, we don't have a railway between Egypt and Sudan. So the infrastructure between the African countries itself, it's not developed to meet the international standard of the free trade. So this is number one. Number two, they was talking about security, about those countries having the disease problems, and they having the civil wars. Now they present them countries and all these defaults and errors have been occupied. Number three, you have also problem when it's come to the manufacturing, because the African Union have bought a plan in 2013 for 2063 to Africa to reform. The whole land of Africa to be reformed as a manufacturing land. The problem is happening is look like what? In Egypt you have, for example, you are manufacturing the medicine and the steel works, and other countries in Africa is doing the same. So there is no diversity, there is no They look like options of importing and exporting. It's look like you are in Nigeria is doing the same manufacturing of all the steel fabrication we are doing in Egypt. So you will say, why I will do a trade with Egypt if I have my own products?
Yes.
So what we need is, as what they announced also in the forum, we need to change our product scheme to H1 to put an information for our researcher and make look like and this is of course so important to Egypt because we are heading after a couple of days the African Union. So Egypt can put its stamp in this chair by putting a connection information hub that what Egypt have, what Nigeria have, what Rwanda have. So if we will increase that, we will show to the investors. I'm not talking about the local, and I'm not talking about the world investors, I'm talking about the African investors. What each country can benefit to the other country when it's come to the manufacturing goods. This is from my own perspective about how to solve.
Yes,
because when you look to that also they have talk about it, they want to remove the upper hand from the Gulf investors, the Asian investors in Africa. China is investing by billions and trillions of dollars. The Gulf region is investing by billions. They want themselves, and this is what the leaders say. It's not what I say. It's what the leaders say. We want to unite together to share what we have. So when you talk about the 600 million market and you have all the options have been done as a natural resources and other things, they talk about a lot of fields of cooperation. Africa can do it, and this exhibitor is coming, and this they will reach by God willing 70,000 attendance of this exhibition in the next 7 days. It will show and it will assure what I'm saying about that each country showing what are the products and the goods and the projects, because they are talking also in the real estate and the properties, the sector of seeking investment, that each authority of investment in each country is promoting what they have. So it will be very important for us and very important for us to look to Africa, not down but up.